This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
I tell you, I've been waiting 9 days to say this, and finally I can here on this joyous Friday. It's a Maple Leafs game day, and this, of course, is the Friday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by PointsBet Canada and Montana's Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with you. What's going on, Rosie?
Not much, man. Same thing. Excited to get this game going. Super Bowl weekend's upon us, and we got a couple Leafs games after having to wait for way too long to watch one.
And not to mention as well, we'll be giving away a $50 gift card courtesy our new friends over at my goodness, I can't speak today, at Montana's in about 10 minutes from now. So make sure to keep it tuned for that one. But yeah, certainly lots to talk about. Kyle Dubas spoke yesterday. There was an extension to a specific blue liner, which we'll get to as well. But off the top, man, like there was no other place I want to start with you than to have a former NHL tough guy break down the game tape on this scrap in Dallas the other night. Here's our guy, Cletus. That's not his real name, but this is Cletus. He's wearing the C on his jersey. Just look at what happens.
Step down here now. All right there.
You might want to mute it here, Alex. There we go. Oh.
Boom. Get the babes in there. Get your girl in there. There she is.
Hey, little boy, hey, little boy,
No, fuck.
little boy,
No,
hey,
fuck
little
that.
boy, little boy.
No,
Dude,
hell
what
no.
is happening?
I ain't done shit.
Taunting him, little
He
boy.
first, right?
Hey,
He
hey,
me done
hey,
first.
is that your
No, fuck that. Fuck that. He me first, right? No, fuck that. No.
Okay, so firstly, apologies for the offensive language there that you heard at the beginning. Our guy Cletus just took it, man. And props to I don't even name the other guy, man. What a stud. Just, he had enough of that shit, and he's like, you know what? This is going to get handled right now. And he sent him back to an era where that haircut was actually a thing, right?
Yeah, Cletus the slack-jawed yokel was not playing any defense. Rule number one, when you're at an arena event and you're scrapping some guy, you don't want to be on the lower ground. That guy can get on top of you. He's got the higher ground. He's got the advantage all day long. And this big boy who's, in his early 50s here, does not look like he's in the mood to mess around. He's standing there big, bear-like, and you just got to protect yourself. You know that right hand's coming through, and boom, Cletus took it good and hard. Whammo! Look at him, chin first. And took him off his feet, but good for Cletus to pop right back up. He's showing that he's got a strong chin. It dazed him, but it didn't KO him. And then he just comes back with the wiry redneck offensive and even gets his babes in there. Great to see. Great to see for the fans and the kids.
Dude, that was an incredible breakdown. And the best part to the video was that Buddy who laid Cletus out had like a stiff arm on the girlfriend too, man. That guy's a tough dude. Like I was more impressed with the fact that he was still laying Cletus out, but then the girlfriend's coming from the side and he's sort of stiff arming her, knowing what he can and can't do. And I thought it was a smart play all around. And I think I have to commend everybody around that situation for sort of de-escalating, because Cletus could have been murdered pretty much.
Well, that's Texas for you, right? All the people just stand by and watch the two duke her out. Eh? Look at that guy in the blue. He's not even fazed by a bomb being landed. And then I love the guy, the big boy's taunting him basically. Little boy, hey, little boy, settle down, little boy, and just pissing him off even more. No
So security, I don't know if you saw this.
Nobody.
I don't know if you saw this off the top. I think there was a video on the Dallas Stars broadcast, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like Cletus like playing with his hair or like walking into the building, man. And it's like crazy how quickly things can change on a whim in the NHL world where life came at Cletus really, really fast in that scenario. I don't know what happened to premeditate that, but like he got his and rightfully so, man. Like just our guy had enough and he just laid him out. Like that was a one punch right there.
It's kind of nice just to see two guys settle their differences and no cops are involved. It's not a melee. Would like to see the girlfriend just kind of maybe relax a little bit, but she's got her right to get in there and defend her man and his haircut.
Dude, I watched it like a million times. I'm like, I need Rosie to break this down. And dude, that was an incredible breakdown. So thank you for that. Remember to subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review wherever you're checking us out. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest on all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Also, as you know, we're in the process of migrating over to our very own YouTube page. Make sure to subscribe and like at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns you want to talk about Cletus or anything that's happened in the NHL world, the Leafs world in the last 24 hours. Got a massive trade as well. How does that impact? How does that affect the Toronto Maple Leafs? Drop us a line in the chat down below here on YouTube, and we'll get to that a bit later on in the show. So at the Leafs Nation 401, our brand spanking new YouTube page. And speaking of brand spanking new, Rosie, I got my own t-shirt, dude. Check this out. Someone make a trade. I know my microphone's sort of in the way, but I've been promoting and teasing this for a while, and I just got my hands like 20 minutes ago on a bunch of them. So we will have some giveaways on the show. I'll make sure to get you one as well. And my prayers were answered yesterday. I got the big Tarasenko trade with the Rangers and Blues.
That's true. You've been waiting a while for something to happen. I think we still got about 3 weeks for it to go down, and things tend to come up hot and heavy there in the last week, I think. So we'll see how she goes, but it's nice you got your swag, and hopefully this is a big blockbuster trade deadline for you to be all happy for trades being thrown around like crazy this year.
I'm going to be fired up. And again, thanks to our friends and my friends over at Team LTD for making it a reality. Someone make a trade. NHL t-shirts coming soon. Well, they're here now. So I'm going to throw away some giveaways as well and have them on sale as well at teamltd.com. So make sure to keep a look for that. But for now, we're going to jump over the boards. Well, as mentioned off the top, Rosie, it's been a long damn time since the Maple Leafs have played a game. In fact, it's been 9 whole days, but they start a back-to-back tonight with the Columbus Blue Jackets. You see on your screen, Silent the Cannon. What was it like to play at Nationwide Arena, first and foremost?
Yeah, it was all right for, nice barn. They've got their passionate fans, cannon blowing off and everything like that. They were never really a powerhouse or someone to be feared, necessarily. And they certainly aren't this year, but it's hard to miss in an NHL barn, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I liked Columbus quite a bit. I went there for the All-Star game a couple years ago. Had a fantastic time. I think it's really, really underrated too in terms of the bar scene, in terms of the local eats. I had a really good time. And so I have a couple friends actually going to this game tonight. They're fired up. And certainly when people bought tickets, they thought it'd be a bit more relevant in terms of the standings, Rosie. But you look at tonight's matchup, Toronto has 70 points, Columbus at 34. Like, it's polar opposites. You're looking at one of the top teams in the league and, in fact, the worst team in the league right now.
Yeah, literally. And, I like playing this game right after the All-Star game, right after the break, because everyone's kind of got their refresher. Their head is back in hockey, hopefully. And, hopefully it's not going to be one of those trap games. I really don't see the Leafs getting anything other than 4 points out of this. I mean, realistically, you should be ready. You should be ready to rock. We got some guys healthy, not everybody, obviously, but there's no reason to do anything but just steamroll this Columbus Blue Jackets team. And, I think it's time for them to prove that they can put the hammer down when needed to, especially against these bottom tier teams, and just show that, hey, you don't have a chance against us. We're a premier team this year, and we are not going to be the team that drops to, more bottom tier teams like they've kind of been famous for. And I'm hoping that the All-Star break refresher gets them out of that mindset and ready to drop the hammer tonight.
Famous last words from Jay Rosehill. I expect him to get 4 points. Are you at the red light district in Amsterdam right now? I don't know if you've been there, but you go down a slippery hallway, you're in trouble, my friend. And I think that's where you're headed right now, Rosie.
No, I got faith. I've got faith in the team. I've got faith in where their minds are at. And it's going to be a 4-point smash down. Edit that, clip it out, put it out there. It's going to be a guaranteed 4 points.
Okay, so there's the Rosie guarantee first here on Leafs Morning Take. Toronto is going to sweep the weekend back-to-back here with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Good luck to you. How tough is the first game back after a long break? We've talked about this a bit throughout the season, but you get 9 days off. Understandably so. These guys are chilling. Presumably so. They've hit the beach, had a couple cocktails. How tough is that first game back here, Rosie, when you've missed a lot of time?
I don't think it's that hard. I mean, assuming you get a couple of skates in beforehand, I mean, those first couple skates are brutal. I mean, when you're playing in the NHL, if you take 1 day off, you feel like a different person coming back to practice. Your legs are a little funky. You got some acid in there. Things are burning that normally aren't when you're on every single day back to back. You just kind of always pick up where you left off. But as soon as you get 1, maybe 2 skates in you, you should be ready to rock. They'll probably have a little bit of a tough skate that first skate, get the sweat going on, get the legs burnt out, and get them ready back in playing form, and then maybe another skate around, some flow practice, and then away you go. You should be ready. I like it. I think their heads are going to be back. They're not banged up. They're not tired. Their minds aren't scrambled. They're refreshed and they're ready to go. So I think it'll be a good time for them to get back in the game, and their heads should be right, and they should be refreshed and rested, and all the stuff they want to blow the steam off with is done and behind them, and they're ready to rock and roll. That's how it should be.
No confirmation just yet on social media, on Twitter. I understand this game's in Columbus, but I'm very curious to see what they do goaltending wise. And we'll get to Matt Murray. Surprise, surprise. Needs 2 more weeks. He's on injured reserve. Same old story with him. So Joseph Woll, we talked about it yesterday, recalled. He's going to play at some point in time this weekend. And from what we saw at practice yesterday, I think they're actually leaning towards Samsonov, which again, we've talked about this a lot. Like, the guy's impeccable on home ice. Why wouldn't you just stick with those splits, especially an analytics heavy, a numbers based type team? I would just throw Wall to the Wolves on Friday. Like, what's the worst that can happen in Columbus tonight? But nonetheless, we're going to get him either, tonight or tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I still think they will go with him. I think at practice after All-Star game, it's Sammy's net, and he's going to be in there taking the most shots and being the first guy and leaving the net when he feels ready, and letting Wall go in there, whether he's playing on Friday, whether they even knew who was playing, ahead of time. I don't think I would take much stock into what was going on in practice, to be honest with you. I still would put my money on Wall being in tonight. For those reasons that you just said. Why not throw him in there against the worst team in the league? He should be ready. He didn't have All-Star game to recuperate from, and obviously you want Sammy at home ice. He did, eh? He was up.
Sorry, he played in the AHL All-Star game, but like, I think my reasoning is more, we know what Samsonov is capable of on home ice. So obviously you want the 4 points here. You look behind the standings, a big win for Tampa last night, and suddenly, Rosie, they have a game in hand, and they're 2 points back of the Maple Leafs for second in the Atlantic Division. So it just puts more importance on taking care of business here. And you look behind you and you look at Tampa as well. I just think it makes more sense strategically. Hockey Night in Canada, you have your number one and you have your backup, your third stringers look really, really good this season. Go into Columbus, try to win a hockey game.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too. And yeah, what I mean is he's playing in the All-Star game. He wasn't on a beach in the Bahamas. He's ready to go, right? So I would put him in on Friday and get Sammy in on home ice where he's comfortable and shown that he plays his best. So that makes sense to me. And I'd like to hear the reasoning behind changing that. But you never know. Regardless, I think they'll split the weekend.
So Kyle Dubas spoke yesterday regarding his deadline strategy. Here are some of the quotes. Up front and on D, if there's a way we can improve the team and give ourselves a chance to make a run at it, then we'll do it. The larger focus is always on the bigger names. We have to look at the people who may improve us overall and not just the big names per se. Said he'd be hard-pressed to deal Matthew Nyes or a first-round pick for rentals, which is understandable. And he's not interested in tinkering with the goalie tandem. Of course, they placed Matt Murray on injured reserve yesterday. Still needs a couple weeks. What did you take from what Kyle Dubas said yesterday? Pretty stock. Pretty much expected. It happens a lot this time of year where GMs will come out and speak and talk about their deadline direction, but he didn't really divulge too much, did he?
Well, what's he going to say? I mean, if he can make the team better, he will. He doesn't know. It's not like there's a pending blockbuster trade and he's just deciding whether he can do it or not. He doesn't have anything, like nobody has anything going until the trigger is pulled. Everyone's talking and kicking tires, and that's kind of what happens around this time until people kind of, the rubber meets the road and people start making serious offers. And people are thinking, oh, he's going to have to make a big splash because his job's on the line. Like Brendan Shanahan and him, they probably meet for over an hour every single day. They text all the time, I'm sure. They talk on the phone. Shanny's up to date on all the phone calls and all the logistics that are going on in the league and who's available. And I bet you they're very much in touch with each other. It's not like Dubas is going to make this trade and Shanahan's going to go, holy moly, I really like this guy. I'm going to extend him this summer. It doesn't work like that. I mean, Shanny knows exactly whether, this thing's going to, this trade deadline is there's available trades, and whatever Dubas can do, he will. And I don't think his future is resting on what he does in this trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you stay the course in terms of expectation, and life comes at you quick in the NHL world. We saw yesterday with the Tarasenko deal. You can't get reactionary. I think that's where Toronto would get in trouble. And I think if you're Kyle Dubas, you go about your day-to-day operations. You understand the pressure, the allure of what's to transpire over the next couple months, even after the trade deadline. But you can't get crazy here. Having said that, I don't think he divulged very much to get back to the point. What is he going to say? But certainly, you would think all hands are on deck. If you legitimately think you can win a Stanley Cup and X player is out there, he can put you over the top potentially, you're making the trade. And it just starts with one call or one text from an opposition GM to start the ball, right? So I didn't really take too much from the quotes. I know the media had their day and their chance with him, but like, what is he going to tell you? Yeah, we're blowing it up. We're going to trade knives. We're going to trade our picks. Like, I don't know what they expected.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is what it is. And at this point in time, like I said, guys are kicking tires and feeling each other out. And yeah, this guy might be available. And okay, well, I'll circle back here. And what are you looking for? Are you looking for some prospects, or do you want to go now? Or are you interested in rentals or anything like that? And yeah, well, the guys are just kicking tires. And that's probably the life of a GM right now, just kind of feeling each other out. No one wants to show their hand. No one wants to look vulnerable or desperate. So I imagine he's just going through those motions, and then he goes to talk to the media. He's like, what do you want me to say? Like, what do you want me to say? So I don't think it's he's just going to try to make the team better if he can. And Shanahan will be right there, understanding whether it's a possibility or not. So all those media days are irrelevant to me.
I could just picture Shanahan standing behind Dubas' shoulder and seeing like an eggplant emoji being whipped out there. And he's like, what's going on? To like an opposing GM. I'm like, I want this player. Well, I don't know. I just think it's so funny, but you're so right. Like, it's not like Dubas woke up one day like yesterday and was like, oh shit, my job's on the line. I think he pretty much understands and comprehends the magnitude of the situation, but he's not going to get crazy with it. I think when you're put in a pickle like that, if you will, I think you have to stay level-headed, and I think the Leafs will be that way. And again, they're cap struck like pretty much every other team in this league. So I think you probably have to wait till the very final, couple days, final day before to make that transaction. They're going to eat money in something. It could be money in, money out. But I think a lot of teams are in the same type of predicament as the Maple Leafs right now.
Yeah, I think so. Everyone's trying to make themselves better. A lot of guys don't have, a lot of teams don't have money to be throwing around or space. I mean, everyone's trying to make their team as good as possible off the get-go and get up close to that cap and try to win some games and get themselves in position for the playoffs. So it's not like guys have tens of millions of dollars of cap room to be messing around with. And you got to be careful on who you give away, and you've already invested in certain players, and these players have been drafted or signed for a reason, and you're just unloading them for what? You don't even know that much about other players, other teams' players, and it's difficult to make a trade, and it's difficult to justify it, and it's difficult to feel like you're getting the better end of the deal because the other GM's not going to waiver or break or give you a discount. He's in the exact same boat as you are. So very difficult time for a trade deadline GM. And I feel like fans are always screaming for these blockbusters. And it's like, I don't think they understand how rare those are. And if my money were on the table, I would bet that if they do anything at the deadline, it'll just be kind of smaller, fringe, bottom six, extra D type of guy moved in and not a big name by any stretch. That would be my best bet, is that it's not a big splash for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Lots of love for the new T right now in the chat. Someone make a trade. I'd like to thank the St. Louis Blues and the New York Rangers for the blockbuster yesterday afternoon. It was a lot of fun. Meantime, I think, the bigger news, and you see it on the screen there, Tarasenko heading to the New York Rangers with Mikkola, who's a pending UFA, and Sammy Blais, 2 picks, and Hunter Skinner, a prospect, going to the St. Louis Blues. I would never sleep on the Blues, man. They could retool. I'm not sure if you've spoken to your buddy Schenner out in St. Louis, but like, they're a team that's always a fascination. Ryan O'Reilly's another name. Ivan Barbashev's another who I think could be linked to the Leafs. So I expect a lot from the St. Louis Blues. I was going to mention, I guess, the biggest piece of news outside of the Matt Murray situation or lack thereof. They just said he needs 2 more weeks, whatever. We talked about Murray the last couple of days. I don't know what else you can add, but Conor Timmins gets an extension, 2 years, 2.2 mil, 1.1 AAV. Firstly, what an incredible job by Kyle Dubas identifying talent, trading for talent. Do you even remember who they gave up in November for this guy, Rosie?
I'm trying to remember. For some
exactly.
reason,
his name is Curtis.
It wasn't him, right?
His name is Curtis Douglas. That it was a rhetorical question, but his name is Curtis Douglas. Yeah, the big boy. We're like, okay, but I think clearly one guy has a trajectory at least right now to be a full-time NHLer. and that's Conor Timmins. Like that's incredible value for a guy who had been injured for a couple years and now has really found his footing and getting back up to speed. 18 games, 1 goal, 11 assists, 12 points. What did you make of the extension? Good value, I thought.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he came in and made an impact. Especially when the decor there was hurting as bad as they were. We had all kinds of players out, and they were just rotating with injuries. Even some of our top guys. So it was difficult time for the D. And I think Connor stepped in at the right time and managed his play very well. Fit in the NHL and actually made an impact in multiple games where we ended up talking about him a fair bit after the game. So good on him. A well-deserved extension. A guy that can obviously play and has upside and potential to be even better, and he's not breaking the bank by any means. So I think that's where you look at Dubas and say, hey, there's a solid trade and a solid signing. He made the team better and didn't give up very much for it. So good on him.
And I think they should be commended too, because if you recall, they make that trade, but they were very, very patient with Conor Timmins, right? They gave him a while to get back up to speed, and they were in dire need, if you do recall, at that time for NHL defensemen. And still, they're like, no, we're going to chill out. We're going to let him take some practices, skate with this team, and find his footing. And to me, he's been one of the bigger stories. Obviously, some other guys, Holmberg's on the roster, who's been a bit of a surprise for yours truly, but I think when you look at the value that they extracted in that deal with Arizona, I start to wonder why Arizona made that trade or why they were so quick to get rid of a guy like Conor Timmins, because I really felt short period of time, it's 18 games, but he's really come into his own. I think he's shown, dashes of like what made him a high-end prospect back in the day with the Colorado Avalanche, even with Arizona. And now you have him on this Leafs roster and you move forward in this cap world next year, Rosie. You would have to think, obviously, at that value, at that money, he's going to factor in one way or another. I think it's a really good deal, man.
Yeah, for sure. And like when they bring him in, it seems like, he was a prospect, a high prospect, and whatever happened, it wasn't really working out. He wasn't really feeling his potential, but it's still there. It reminds me a little bit of Samsonov, a high prospect who's with a team that kind of just gave him away and figured he wasn't going to do much. And then, he comes into a place like Toronto. I like the way they took their time with him, let him get his feet under him, let him get used to some things, let him get used to the surroundings. Because you get thrown into the fire in Toronto, and like everybody, us included, are talking about this guy, waiting to see what he does. Will he make an impact? And if he goes in and doesn't flourish right away, all of a sudden they're on top of him. What's he doing? Should he even be here? Blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you're starting in this massive market with spotlight on you 24/7, and the weight of the world feels like you're on your shoulders, and you're under the weather already and lost confidence. It's a very difficult thing to come back from. So it's nice that they let him take his time and inserted him at the right time, and he was able to flourish and earn his keep and earn an extension. And absolutely, like they fleeced that trade, if you ask me. And he's a guy that has endless potential as being a big prospect and doesn't really eat up your cap space, and he can go on and be as big as he can be in the next couple of years, and he's not doing much to your cap. It's only positive potential, if you ask me.
So the one thing I think people forget, yours, myself included, about your career was the fact that you actually started as a defenseman, right? Like, what happened after that that transitioned you to a forward?
Yeah, so after the lockout in 04, 05 there, it was all the rules changed. It was, obstruction. It was you can't even touch a guy as a defenseman. If your stick went between a forward's legs and he didn't even trip up or lose the puck, the arm just went up. And obstruction. You can't put your stick between the legs. And I mean, he used to can opener guys and grab them by the crest of the jersey and just ride them into the corner and just ragdoll them. And all those things that I would do were now almost obsolete. So I played my first 2 years in the American League, and then the Tampa system was so full of defensemen that I was down on the depth chart. I had a coach that did not trust or believe in me all of a sudden after my first year going really well. The second year coach didn't like me and said, hey, you're either going to be not here anymore or we're going to have to play you on forward, because I played a lot of forward growing up. So I went to forward, and lo and behold, that's when I started fighting and getting into goalies' faces and running defensemen, and I just never really went back to defense. But yeah, kind of a weird way to go about it, where people are kind of surprised when they find out about that.
Yeah, and the biggest success story to that is a guy on the Carolina Hurricanes right now, in Brent Burns. If you do recall, he went D, forward. I think he started as a forward, and now he's back on D, and he's been one of the better defensemen in the league for the better part of the past decade. So there are success stories out there. I was just always so curious from your perspective, the transition, to knowing D for a long period of time and then going to forward. And you did a bang-up job of protecting your teammates, very similar to how our guy protected his fists against Cletus. That was quite the breakdown. I'm still trying to get over that. But for now, Rosie, it's time. The feature presentation. It's the Montana's giveaway. $50 gift card. Here it is, folks. Don't forget, Montana's is bringing back the viewing party with daily deals in 2023. We've been promoting it all week, giving away a $50 gift card. That's why it's important to follow our socials. Follow Montana's socials at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Follow us all because you can win some great prizes. And here's your winner right there at Mike D. Knack. If you're watching right now, you'll be contacted at some point today with the gift card information. So congratulations, $50 at Montana's. That could set you up for a nice little pre-drink as you head into your weekend, I think.
Big time. That'd be nice to go in there, especially with all the deals they got where they're giving away a ton of food for next to no money, it looks like. And that 50 could get stretched out again. Great little first date pre-dance hall meal is what you could do over there. Maybe call me old school, but I think you fill your girl up on some ribs. She's going to be ready to dance.
Hey, you think Cletus can do the Texas two-step?
Damn right he can. You see those shit kickers he was wearing?
I wondered how he wheeled his bird, man, like the Texas two-step. Hey, look at my hair. Look at my flow. My goodness, that was just impeccable stuff. And the one punch was even better. The wrap-up is brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. Okay. I teed it up yesterday. It's time to put Rosie on the spot. Not only is he going to take a look at the Leafs game tonight, but the Super Bowl. I heard there's a football game on Sunday. You know I hate football, so I could not care less.
Yeah, there's a big football match this weekend, I heard. But I'll start off with the Leafs. What I'm taking is just the in the game, I'm taking the over 6.5 for a couple of different reasons. A, we could have a third string goalie in there with Woll. You never know what can happen. B, I think the Columbus Blue Jackets are extremely outmatched by the offensive power. And C, I think, coming off of the All-Star game, there could be some rust and some timing issues. So there could be ripe for turnovers and a little bit of scrambly hockey, which could end up in a lot of pucks in the back of the net. So I'm going over 6.5 in this game for sure. That's my hockey play. And then with the Super Bowl, I'm going Travis Kelce on the Kansas City Chiefs. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be using him all the time. So I've got a first half Travis Kelce touchdown, which will pay at about plus 210. And then I've got Travis Kelce over receiving yards, over 78.5, which he's doing more than half of the time. And I think he's going to step it up in the Super Bowl. That pays about minus 110, which is some pretty good value on a pretty wicked player with a pretty wicked quarterback setting him up. There's no reason to think that he won't do that. And then just to sprinkle in some fun, I'm taking the national anthem under 127 seconds. Chris Stapleton is singing that, and I know he can get a little bit raspy and tickle the strings a little bit, but I think that for a country singer, he's not going to sit there like Mariah Carey and hit the high notes and drag it out for 5 seconds per note. I think he's going to play the song well and wave to the crowd and get the hell out of there. So under 120 seconds, and that's paying at 100 plus 140. So lots of good money on the board and lots of good advice from yours truly here. Have I ever steered you guys wrong? Let's go.
Well, in fact, you always steer us wrong when it comes to betting. But this weekend, I'm going to trust you because I know there's a Kelce versus Kelce matchup. Two brothers going head-to-head in the Super Bowl. Imagine you and Tyler going head-to-head in a Stanley Cup Final Game 7.
That'd be pretty wild. We went head-to-head in the black and gold Grizzly game in about 2002 and ended up in a Tomahawk slash fest right at center ice. And my dad had to sit us down and tell him he never wants to see that ever again.
I met your bro. He's an absolute beauty. So yeah, looking forward to this weekend, Friday, Saturday here against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And we talked about it, I believe, last week. It's sort of a fluffy type schedule for the Leafs in February here. A lot of lesser opponents. I believe 3 of the 9 games against teams currently in a playoff spot. There's 2 against Chicago, 2 against Columbus. So on paper, it looks good. It's another thing to take care of business. The chat's red hot today, by the way, to wrap up. A lot of fans of the somebody make a trade or someone make a trade t-shirt. I should probably get it right if I'm going to have a t-shirt that has a saying on it. Someone make a trade, hashtag NHL. Some giveaways coming soon to all the faithful listeners and watchers of the show, by the way. I'll be giving away some t-shirts over the next couple weeks. Tim writes in, if I'm not mistaken, Cletus used a racial slur, which is true. He should have had his hands up.
Ooh.
Kudos to Cletus. Bounce back. Yeah, Cletus is a piece of shit in my world. So I'm happy that he got his. Big night for JT is what Tim's writing in. TC writes, I want the series to split now just for Karma Boys, but I should preface by saying TC is a big-time Columbus Blue Jackets fan. Sammy expects tonight from Tim, so that's it seems like that's the direction. He thinks playing Wall at home so he feels more relaxed is a smart play. But lots happening right now in the Leafs world as we get set for this back-to-back, Rosie.
Yeah, big time. Lots happening. It'll be interesting to see. I can't wait for the lineup to come out and just kind of get used to what's going to happen tonight. And I did not know Cletus used a racial slur. If that's the case, he deserved to get a little extra power behind that shot. And he should have been buttoned, to be honest, and then folded over the bottom row and then just haul him out to the back dumpster and dump him in there is what should have happened. It sounds like.
Pretty much. No, because what I read from the video, and again, it was like a minute-long video, is like that's what put Buddy over the top. Like Cletus was talking shit. He's like, come down here. Like one step's going to make a difference. He probably would have pumped you even more. And he said a bad word, a terrible word. And he got it. Like that's the accountability is big in my life and respect, man. And you cross that line. I don't care who you are. And he got his. Do you think he woke up yesterday or a couple days ago and it's like, you know what? I'm going to get one punched at a Dallas Stars hockey game with my shitty ass haircut?
I don't know if he's acting like that. He should have seen it coming. But in my world, I wish punching someone in the face was more common and more accepted, like it was back in the day. Everyone knows where the line is. Everyone knows what's expectable. If you cross that with the wrong guy, expect to get a shot in the face, as you should, especially with the kind of bullshit it sounds like he was doing. So right on. It's good to see some old vigilante justice in the stands.
Cletus ain't getting a someone make a trade t-shirt anytime soon, unfortunately. But Rosie, I'm sure you are. Appreciate this today. Excellent stuff. And just a bit of a teaser for next week. We got lots coming. I believe we'll have Dylan Strome of the Washington Capitals on the show on Monday. And there's a chance we get Matthew Nyes on next week, which should be a lot of fun. Of course, he's been a big topic of conversation surrounding the deadline. It sounds like he's going to sign a contract when his college season is done. So I would think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be able to link up here with Matthew Nyes. Could even come as soon as next week. So looking forward to all that as we move forward here. And, of course, lots of trade talk. Try to get a couple more insiders on, too.
Yeah, of course. That'd be interesting to talk to that kid. Hopefully he hasn't had a lot of media training and we can just convince him to just start
No, don't do that.
Dishing dirt
Ask
and
for
all
a trade,
kinds of
Matthew.
stuff. We'll see.
We'll be like, ask for a trade. They don't want you in Toronto.
Yeah, seriously.
Imagine.
No,
all right, Rosie. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the game.
City. See you, bud. Have a good one. We'll see you after the weekend.
Yep, there is Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. If you watch football, enjoy it. If not, enjoy the back-to-back here with Columbus. Take care, and we'll talk on Monday. Have a great weekend.